Assalamualaikum and good afternoon to everyone. For the PID 3070 Environmental Planning and Management, we would like to present on a review of environmental impact of bauxite mining in Pahang, represented by Yap Yee Teng, Hui Ying, Nuramira Osman, me Syafiq bin Sallehuddin, and Mohammad Zahir Zafarudin. That the presentation outline will be begin with the introduction, literature review, finding and discussion, recommendation and conclusion. So for the introduction, I will pass to Nuramira.
Okay, first I will present the introduction. So the minerals have the potential to be a source of wealth creation for resource-rich countries, and mining remains the primary method of extraction. In Malaysia, mining sector has enormous potential for income generation and job creation, which is the mining sector has contributed to for 6.6% of Malaysia GDP in the Q4 of 2020. So on the other hand, the mining activities if not properly managed, have the potential to degrade the environment and have negative impacts on the social well-being. Therefore, the second mineral policy, which was enacted in 2009, places a strong emphasis on environmental stewardships in order to ensure that the nation mining activities develop in an environmentally sound, responsible, and sustainable manner. So the aim for this study is to discuss the environmental impacts of bauxite mining in Pahang, Malaysia. The issues and problem will address as well as the recommendation that could be used to counter the issues and problem. So the objective of this study are first to highlight the issues and problems and discuss the environmental impacts of bauxite mining in Pahang, Malaysia, and second to propose recommendations to mitigate and remediate the issues and problems related to bauxite mining in Pahang, Malaysia for sustainable environment. So next I will pass to the next presenter.
Yeah, and we'll continue with the literature review. So in literature review, we will divide into 5 types, which is the composition of bauxite, which is according to Wallerton, the term of bauxite refers to the bauxite ores that can be commercially extracted, which contain between 50 to 50% of aluminium, 20% of ferrum, and 3 to 5% of mixed silica. While the uses of bauxite also will presented into 4 types, which is metallurgy, industry, in building material and aggregates and other uses. So for the benefit of bauxite mining, according to International Aluminium Institute 2009, the bauxite mining activities have provided the employment for citizens and the well-paying position also available to provide more job opportunity for the citizen, which in line with the industry expectation. So for the bauxite mining process, it consists of 5 steps, which is preparation of the mining area, bauxite mining, crushing, ore transport, and rehabilitation. So according to the effect of bauxite on health, according to the Ministry of Natural Resources and Environment has put a 3-month moratorium on bauxite mining and manufacturing in Kuala because of the several environmental pollution problems in the area, and it can be divided into few types, which is according to the hazards, impact on environment, impact on social economy, and impact on health. So I will pass to next presenter.
So for the finding and discussion, I will go first with the overview of bauxite mining activity in Pahang. So bauxite mining in Pahang started in 2013 with a small-scale operation in Balok. Later, it expanded to other Kuantan areas, namely Bukit Go, Bukit Sagu, and Sungai Karang. In 2015, there's an extensive extraction of bauxite, which brings to the predominant to the environmental disaster by risk to the public health and damaging the ecosystem. As we can see at the chart on the right, the bauxite production in Malaysia has been a surge increase in 2015, with the production of around 6 million tons compared to in 2008-2013, which the trend is fluctuated. So this trend occurred due to several factors. Firstly, in 2014, Indonesia has banned bauxite operation through mineral cargo and utilized the domestic aluminium processing industry. Second, India has increased the export duty of bauxite deposit. This situation resulting to the shortage of bauxite deposit worldwide, particularly in China, as require high demand of bauxite ore. Besides, bauxite import from Australia to China requires expensive freight costs. Thus, Malaysia becomes the substitute country for bauxite imports with the existence of Pahang bauxite deposit. Next one, causation of bauxite mine activities.
Okay, next is the causation and the consequence of bauxite mining activities in Pahang. So there are a number of causations that lead to the adverse effect to the environment and human health. The first one is the unclarified boundary between bauxite mining zone and settlement zone, because the location of mining activity is very close to the settlement and school area. The second is aggressive and uncontrolled search of mining operation. So in order to earn more profit, the several unregulated activity like forest raising, earth digging and open pipe mining has been conducted to extract and export the bauxite. And third is illegal individual miners. So the officer has been arrested because they are selling our body documents to illegal bauxite mining operator. And last is the government inaction and poor regulation. This is because the bauxite mining activity is not subject to Environmental Quality Order 1987 and it is not categorized as a prescribed activity. So government also linked to the bauxite mining as new economic activity. So they are unwilling to forfeit the profit and offer adequate solutions. And next is about the consequence of bauxite mining in Pahang. The first one is air pollution. So the open mining has led to the degradation of air quality and dust pollution. And it has reduced the environmental amenity, contaminated water and vegetation production. The red dust has also deposited on the premise, which will pollute the food sources. And the second is visual pollution and respiratory health risks. So visual pollution is formed because the red dust has made people's vision become wet and invisible. It also has the potential to cause irritation to the eyes, nose, throat, and skin, which eventually lead to the risk of cancer and respiratory distress. The third is water pollution, mud flood, and deteriorated marine ecosystem. So because of the extraction and washing of bauxite, it has contaminated the water sources and formed mud flood. And this is proof when a 15 kilometer of Pahang coastline has been stained red with heavy metal laden soil. And eventually, the degradation of water quality has harmed and poisoned the marine life. Okay, so the fourth is the human health impact due to the contaminated drinking water sources. This is found when the water body is detected to have high concentration of aluminium and heavy metals. The fifth is threatened road safety, because the lorry drivers would tend to overload their lorries to obtain more pay, and overloaded lorries will damage the road and risk their life or the life of other users. And the last one is noise pollution. So because when the mining is conducted, they will use the heavy machinery and movement of lorries, and because the activity is near to the community settlement, the noise will produce and it lead to the significant effects on the health like hearing loss and sleep disturbance. Yeah. Next.
For the mitigation measure on bauxite mining activity in Pahang, so in response to the consequences of uncontrolled bauxite mining activity in Pahang, the government put few mitigation measures on the bauxite mining activity. So firstly, the imposition of moratorium on bauxite mining and export activity. This moratorium will result in the suspension and cessation of all bauxite mining activities and export activity by disposal of bauxite stockpile, cleaning and upgrading of quantum port facilities, and stockpile transfer. The moratorium began in January 15, 2016 and end into March 31st, 2019 with the extension for 3 months. Second, the enforcement of standard operating procedure SOPs for bauxite mining and export activity. These SOPs is enforced to ensure the change of activity related to bauxite mining starting from the before, during and after mining stage has always been carried out following the current procedures and legislation. So I will pass to the next presenter for recommendation and conclusion.
So for the recommendation, the first recommendation is effective pollution, erosion and sediment control. Pollution, deforestation and sediment management should be implemented effectively. It is critical to install a proper filtration system on the drainage system to keep runoff, flooding and sediment under control. The ESCP for mining areas also should be prepared as part of an environmental management plan that is monitored and revised on a regular basis. Such action should ensure that sediment are monitored at the site rather than being left to run naturally into nearby drains and stream, and eventually into the sea. The guiding principle for this recommendation is the prevention principle. This is, for instance, the ESCP for mining need to be planned and need to continuously monitor and supervise. This action can control the impact of bauxite mining and reduce the impact on environment. So the second recommendation is environmental surveillance or environmental monitoring. This environmental monitoring should be carried out daily. Land water levels and condition, water quality, air quality, and so on can all be monitored. Operator must accept accountability for meeting performance requirements established by the government and are required to strive for continuous improvement whenever possible. The public health and welfare also should not be jeopardized. Rigorous inspection and public accountability system can be used to show advancement towards an accomplishment of agreed upon environmental objective, so that disciplinary or regulatory measure will be taken if the environmental objective are not met. The feasibility responsible of the bauxite residue can show capability by implementing appropriate management process, including contingency plans and providing sufficient preparation and resource to ensure best practice is applied on site. So the guiding principle is prevention principle and protection and promotion of health and safety principle. So for the last recommendation is rehabilitation strategy. Mining recovery plan should be carefully planned to ensure that effective rehabilitation is carried out after mining in the region's end. Proper preparation would ensure that the mine is not abandoned as an environmental hazard zone until mining has ceased. Improper maintenance of ex-mining areas can endanger the public's and wildlife protection and health. It would also ensure that mine fill and depth of extraction limits are specifically prepared for and accepted in advance, as opposed to the current haphazard method of digging at breakneck pace solely to maximize income regardless of the risk to everyone and everything else. Bank guarantee or insurance coverage will be utilized to rehabilitate the mining area should be forfeit if the company abscond after mining operation cease. So the guiding principle for this recommendation is prevention principle and multi-sectoral integration principle. So for the conclusion, in conclusion, the bauxite mining industries in Kuantan have resulted in significant financial benefit not only for the country but have also improved the livelihood of those involved with the industries in Kuantan. However, the mining operation have also raised concern about the health impact on Kuantan residents and drawn public attention to wanton environmental disruption. As a result, if bauxite mining operations are to resume, strict and transparent regulatory steps must be implemented to mitigate the detrimental effect of the bauxite mining industry. Regular compliance would help to keep the bauxite industries relevant and clean for Kuantan residents. It is recommended that careful preparation and implementation based on international and local best practice be undertaken prior to the lifting of the enforced moratorium. That's all.